Testing. Good afternoon, ladies. If you'd like to be seated now so that we can have our little hymn sing before we start the singing program. I'm Lorraine Bowlby. I'm from Calvary Memorial, and this is Barbara Kellerman. She's from Calvary as well, and she's going to accompany on the piano. Where is the guy that's running the booth? Where's the guy that's running the music?
He's there.
Oh, is he? Are you ready, Steve? Okay, it's more voices the first one, right? The first one we're doing is called by Earth and Sky. The next one we're doing is called Teach Me, God, to Wonder. So we got quite a few people here, so I'm hoping I can start hearing the voices up here and not just myself. The next one we're doing is God who gives life its goodness. The next one we're doing is touch the earth lightly. The next one we're going to be singing is Creating God, We Give You Thanks. We're now going to sing Deep in Our Hearts.
Do you have one more for us, or,
Yeah, there's Into Our Hands.
okay? Do you have the words for that one, Into Our Hands at the back? Yeah, there it is.
Okay. So now we're going to be singing Into Your Hands. It was the UCW 60th anniversary theme at conference this year. Now we're going to do the UCW blessing song.
so very much, Lorraine and Barbara. You've set the stage beautifully with the words of the hymns that you've chosen for us. So we really appreciate the contributions you make to us. We may be faint in perseverance these days as we sing, but we not. So thank you. The last one we sang, the blessing song, I think it's a very good way for us to begin today, because we are giving blessings to each one of us. We are asking for blessings on the group, and we're grateful that you're all here. Both those who are in this building, and I hope that a few have made the transition from 2 links that had to be changed to the current link today, and that there are at least a few of you that have managed to make it here. And if not, those of you who are here, please let the people in your local units of faith and any other people that you know that this will be posted on the WOW regional site. So if you go to Western Ontario Waterways region and then UCW, it may take a few days before it gets there, but it's going to be posted and available. So we're trying to make it as accessible as possible, recognizing that not everyone can travel the way we used to do when we were friskier. But inside, we're all frisky. I know that some of you were able to enjoy the fellowship of the brown bag lunch today, and I got to talk with quite a few of you, and it was so nice to have that kind of fellowship. So thank you for joining us for the meal. And I hope that you enjoyed Edith Coyle's cupcakes. I did hear a statement that she didn't want to take any home. So if you're looking for supper, please see Edith before you leave today. I think you have to provide your own bag to put them in, though. I know that many of you have already browsed the book tables back there, but Gail wants you to be reminded that she is here until 2 selling books. She hopes to be able to stay longer than that, but she has some 4-footed friends that she needs to get home to because she's recently moved into a communal dwelling, and she's not just sure how the neighbors, including her dogs, appreciate the community yet. So this is a trial run for them. Anyhow, we're very grateful, Gail, to you and the people at the Mitchell Resource Center for providing us with the opportunity to buy books and gifts and things, and also probably to make connection with you if we wish to order books through the Resource Center. It is a reminder that, and I think I've got this right, so if I'm haywire, wave your hands before I dig my hole too deep. I think that if you order books through the Mitchell Resource Center, postage is paid, or is that only if it's books that are from the...
We try really hard to subsidize the postage because Canada Post it's a lot. Yes, so we don't charge what Canada Post does. We pay for part of it.
Okay, for those of you who might be online, they subsidize the postage so that generally they don't have to charge quite the amount that Canada Post, they are paying for Canada Post.
We appreciate people still choosing us.
They appreciate the support because you're one of the few remaining United Church bookstores, I think across Canada, aren't you? Yeah, I think and you have an outlet in London, and I think Paris at Five Oaks also is the other one. And the main United Church bookstore is in Toronto. So for those of you who'd like to get resources, that's why we're taking a little time to make sure that you know how you can. one of the, I want to recognize a couple of people. I've already talked, we've had a chance to say thank you to Barbara and Lorraine. Jackie DeVerti has agreed to be our secretary today. Eleanor Firth, who is normally our secretary, is away. She's traveling. I would like to believe that she might be online. She had good hopes, I think, but she may actually be finding more exciting things to do. Hard to envision. As I was thinking of our gathering today, I was thinking that since Thanksgiving has made me think about what it means to be thankful and grateful, that I guess that's sort of driving the thoughts that I've had. I think that very often we are grateful for specific things at specific times in our lives. Sometimes it's grace. We are grateful for the food. We're often very grateful for friends. Sometimes we remember to tell them that. And we are probably aware on the fringes of our somewhat self-centered lives, you can tell I'm speaking about myself, that there are a great many people who introduce us to the Holy Mystery in many, many ways, and who make our lives richer. On the other hand, we often focus on what we don't have, the troubles we have, the fact we're not as youthful and fast as we used to be, that it's not like it was in the old days. And we forget that maybe our glass is more than half full. I was reminded of this morning. There is, in my mind, a connection, and I hope it will be one for you. I took down the garbage in my building, and somebody came in at the same time. I turned to say good morning and accidentally threw it into the recycling bin. It's one of those great big bins. If I stood on tiptoe, I could see where the bag was, but that was the extent of it. Luckily, the man who came in was considerably taller than I am, and he took pity on me and fished it out, and I threw it into the correct bag. So I thanked him, and he said, "It's quite all right, you've made my day." I looked at him and thought, his day must have been the pits. This was at 9 o'clock in the morning. He said, "I've just been on the phone for an hour, and we've had to make a decision about which of the $6 cakes to buy for this event that he was going to." He says, "You're definitely higher than that." I hadn't really thought of my feeling indebted to him was going to make his day better. But it did remind me of how there's so much that we have to be grateful for. And so may we come together in gratitude today, and may we name some of the many blessings that we've already received today. Food sufficient for our needs, safety for our travel, the technology and the people that know something about it that links us together today. All of you who have made it here, including our guest panelists and speakers and worship leaders, and each of you who have come because you wanted to or you felt obliged to. I hope it's the first, but never mind. We are grateful that you're here. The fellowship that we can share, the generosity and gifts of all of those whom we meet and hear from today. And would you just take a moment to name additional blessings for which you are grateful, either to your neighbor if you'd like to, or in the silence of your heart. You're allowed to speak aloud if you want. Anyone else brave enough? The companionship on the way here.
I'm thankful for the grace that folks have given me when they're waiting in line, trying to get their books
the patience of those who were waited in line patiently and cheerfully, I suspect, while they were waiting to pay for the books they had chosen at the book table. And for all those blessings that we have mentioned in our hearts, we give thanks. I want to acknowledge the land that we are on today, to acknowledge the sacred land of Turtle Island as we gather here at St. Jacob's Calvary United Church. We are thankful for all that Mother Earth has provided us over the years. We acknowledge the ancestors who were stewards of this land we call home. We remember that this church and nearby communities are built on the ancestral traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Neutral Nations, the Mississauga of the Credit First Nations, and the Mississauga people. This acknowledgement supports our call to live out the apology of the United Church of Canada to Indigenous people and to learn to live in right relationship with them and with the earth on which we reside. Would you join me together as we say the regional UCW purpose? And even if you're not official members of it, modify the language and join us in it, please. The purpose of the Regional United Church Women and People is to strengthen and support the United Church women and other groups where desired, to provide an opportunity for spiritual growth, Christian fellowship, study, and leadership development, to maintain close ties with all district and general council working units. That last phrase may not exactly be the greatest literary sentence you've ever heard, but it's a reminder that we are indeed a small but important part of the wider United Church of Canada, and even more, we're part of the wider community worldwide. And so it's important, I think, that we recognize that as we gather here together. I have a couple of very short updates that I want to mention. And the first two, if you read the brief newsletter that came out after the National UCW Executive, some of this may sound familiar, but I suspect you couldn't quote it. I want you to remember or to know for the first time that in 2022, UCW members raised over $2,305,000 Canada-wide for mission and service. And the incredible part is, this was almost $1 million more than the previous year. Collectively, we may be shrinking, but in terms of generosity and giving, we are still strong supporters of mission and service to other people. The second thing that I think is really important to recognize is that the United Church Women have given over $5,000 this past year, and that was up to the end of September, my figures, to the National UCW 60th Anniversary Project in support of the Regina Native Baby and Mother Welcome Bags. And there will be just a little bit more information about that when Kathy leads us in the presentation of our offering later. For those of you who don't remember much about the project, or who are worried that maybe we aren't really doing very much very excitingly because we can't see it, visit it, and name people that are benefiting from it, There is information online if you go onto the United Church UCW website. There's more information about the National UCW's project. And there was also some information in the fall newsletter that came out in October. So if you haven't found it, it didn't come to you, check with your unit leader and have her go through her past emails and see if it's still there and send it on to you. And there will be more information coming out in the next newsletter. The third item I want to make you aware of, Horseshoe Falls, UCW, and that's a group that we met with together during COVID as as another of the three tri-regions, the tri-regional UCW gatherings that we did on Zoom. Horseshoe Falls Regional UCW on Saturday, November the 18th at 1 p.m. is holding a Zoom meeting. And for those of you who have real concerns about women who are trafficked, I think that's how I say it, and who are sold into the sex trade, as well as very young girls, it's happening in Canada. The 401 corridor is one of the most popular places because people can exchange whatever, whether it's people or sexual favors. Favors is not the right word. Sexual reimbursement. And so it's an issue that many of you will be concerned about. The guest speaker will be Shirley Quillier, who's a retired RCMP commissioner, and she's now a consultant. She will be speaking on gender violence and sex trafficking of women and girls in our cities and rural communities. We sometimes forget that it's going on around us, even if we aren't aware of it, and we think that we're safe in our smaller communities. Maybe we are, but many women and girls aren't. So this link will be coming out this coming week. I didn't want to send it out earlier because I didn't want it to get confused with this gathering. So I encourage all of you on November the 18th to mark that on your calendars at 1 o'clock, and it will be a Zoom link. I'm really pleased now to call on Kathy Douglas. She is going to introduce our panelists, and I want you to notice that they are the ones in the most front row. I also want you to notice there's somebody that's only one row behind you, and there's another one that's 2 rows behind you. So we're sort of getting the idea that it's not terribly dangerous to sit at the front, but we're still a little iffy about it. But Kathy is going to introduce you, and I just want to say right now, I'm so pleased that you're here. So Kathy, if you would come and do the introductions. Kathy Douglas, for those of you who may not have met her or have forgotten, she is our chief supporter on the Western Ontario Waterways region. She is and I didn't write down your title, and I don't need to, there it is. Yes, but it doesn't tell me your position.
Faith Formation Ministry.
Thank you. Faith Formation Ministry. I think that rate's right up there with names in terms of what my mind remembers. So it's all yours, Kathy. Thank you. Let me just back up here carefully.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here, and it's good we're all here. It's great. Numbers don't matter. It's that we're here and we're able to be together. Thank you for giving this opportunity. I'm very glad that I've got this opportunity to introduce some young people, some folks within our congregations and in our church that this summer had jobs. We were able to pay them to do some very important work, which was called, their positions were called climate motivators, and then some of their leadership as well. So when I hear about the fact that UCW has done so much to raise money for mission support, part of that work goes into supporting this program that we're going to hear about this morning, or It's this afternoon now. And I'm excited to hear them share with you what they did this summer, but also I'm excited that I get to be with them in person. I've seen them online mostly. I've met a couple of them, well, only one of them in real life. So it's such a great, I was so thankful that you said yes to having this as your topic today. So I'm going to ask Connor and Jackson and Sifa and Kyla to come forward. We're missing one. Dan was not able to come today. And they're going to come up and they're going to, this looks so professional. They're going to be our panel and they're going to talk about the program this summer that they took part in through the United Church of Canada. I think I could say things that probably would be sort of accurate, but I think Connor is going to be the one who introduces the program, and there'll be chances for you to engage with them too later with some questions. And so, you good?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and anything for Kathy, so. We're here to hopefully show that your mission and service dollars are worth it, all right, getting a bang for your buck. All the interesting and amazing things that these motivators have been up to have happened within the context of the Climate Motivators program. So this was a program at the national level in partnership with regions and local churches that provided mentors to our wonderful motivators here. And the goal of the program was to really invest in youth leadership and advocacy, especially in the context of climate change. Is that better? Perfect. So climate change and environmental issues led a lot of the work that we did this summer. I had the honor of being a coordinator for these fine folk here, and their role was to identify a need in their community, that could be community of faith or broader community, related to the environment that would be their passion project that summer. I had the honor of coordinating them, connecting them to resources or grants or inspirational speakers or workers in the broader climate movement. This included people who were in church leadership. They had the opportunity to talk to the General Secretary, past moderators. The current moderator, Carmen, even stayed with us for a whole week in BC in community with us. And she got to listen to each of their projects, provide advice, resources, and ideas to lift them up even higher. And so what that program looked like was mostly online this summer. We'd be together between 12 and 4 our time, but different times across Canada. And the rest was asynchronous for them to work on their project and learn a bit more about the environment broadly. We got to be together for 2 weeks in BC. Intentional community, we cooked meals for each other, we learned, we met interesting people, we even played some games, and that was an amazing time, and they'll get to share a bit more about that. So we equipped them with education about the environment, climate change, leadership skills, and also the United Church of Canada's structure, how we function, and what our role can be in trying to create a better world. This also included political advocacy initiatives. So we taught them what it was like to meet with a councillor, an MP, an MPP, an MLA, how to talk to them in ways that would resonate with their values, to talk about what's important to them in their community. This looked like a few things. We organized an MP panel for them with representatives from each of the major parties being able to talk about youth advocacy and climate change. We also equipped them with some more national level strategies. So we did a Cranes for Climate initiative that was born of, For the Love of Creation and Cairo circles, where we sent letters to our representatives about issues that matter to us or issues that the United Church broadly is advocating for. This looked like emissions targets or a loss and damage fund at the coming COP28 conference, proper global south, global north relations when it comes to damage from climate change. We had local projects that they worked on, and we made sure to situate it in a global context. How does what we're doing on the ground also impact and contribute to what we're doing collectively together? It was my honor, absolutely, and I found myself super encouraged and enlivened when I heard about the amazing work that they and other youth across Canada are doing for the world, for climate change, and because the United Church of Canada's investment in them. Climate change and environmental issues can be pretty heavy stuff. It weighs on you, and things like fear, anger, sometimes sadness and despair, they might bring you to the table of wanting to do work for the climate and the environment and God's creation, but it's not sustainable to feel those things all the time. What is sustainable is hearing about the excellent work done by people around you. It's about creating community. It's about working together and having positive stories about good people doing good work for the world. And that's what I got to have as their coordinator. Yes, I was helping out here and there, but I received so much from them in work that can sometimes be a bit heavy. But that's a general overview. There's lots more online if you'd like to learn. Now for the real stars of the show, we get to have Sifa, Jackson, and Kyla share about their passion projects, what they worked on this summer, and also some takeaways from their experience of the program overall, what they did, what they might currently be doing now, and what they might hope to do in the future. So I figure we'll just go down the line. Sifa, would you like to share first?
Sure. First of all, I would like to thank you all for being here today. And talking about our project this summer, since there's three climate motivators from our church, there's Dan, Jackson, and I, we decided to work on one group project, which is the Greenbelt Ontario Alliance. And each of us had our own projects. Also, talking about the Green Belt, it was very successful, and we were very happy to be able to talk our minds, and especially looking at the Green Belt, looking how the government builds houses in different ways and taking more spaces and leaving less green spaces. So that was also our concern, and looking how houses could be very expensive, and we also connected our project together because I was talking about organic foods. So first of all, I was focusing on the companies that farm foods with synthetic pesticides and with chemicals that could harm the environment, special insects or animals or the people that's around the areas. So what I was thinking most likely is our health. So our health is very important because if we end up eating the foods that was grown using pesticides or chemicals, then we could end up in hospital because we end up getting different types of disease that we don't know how the hospital might be able to cure or anyhow that we might be able to survive. So my question was always if you look at the foods that you cook in the kitchen, you wouldn't know that if it's organic or non-organic. So I was advocating people about organic foods and the Green Belt. And what I was doing after the program was I'm trying to educate people in my school by joining the ECO team, which is a team that advocates the people around the school. And I have noticed that not many people knows about the climate change, or many youth don't really know what to do, especially when it comes to making a difference or taking action. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jackson, and I was very happy to be part of Climate Motivator. I get opportunity to see how to help other people realize the very, very problem of climate change. We did get to do a lot of things. For example, I got to do a project called Awareness for Homeless and the Forest Fire, which is to help people, do less people to harm the forest. So our group, we were 3 people, me, Sifa, and then, as we said, we worked together to unite the project together as one project, and we're still continuing. As Sifa said, it was very successful. As for now, every Friday in Waterways, there is a gathering of of group who discuss other things about climate change. And if you prepare by around there every time like at 7 o'clock, you'll see a group of people discussing about it, which is successful to unite with others. For my project, the way I did was to keep advocating about it. And although I say it was very short term, actually I still continuing. In my school, I have to, I create a club that can help people understand the severe issue of climate change so they can help to advocate even further, because in my school is similar to an international school because its only school is international. Have you heard of a school called W.S. McDonald School? It's a school for blind people and people who have some disabilities, but they also have some ability because they are from almost all they are from all over Ontario, and Ontario is a big province. So the way I do is to help advocate even more to support for all the province. I plan to create like a debating club which we can debate about climate change to see overview the negative and positive about it, which can create a hope for good community and a greater future for all of us. And thank you for being here, and I'm happy you invited me. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Kyla Mills. I'm actually from Halifax, Nova Scotia, but I go to school at Wilfrid Laurier University. My project this summer was to educate my church community, mainly because, as you know, they are all seniors and they have questions about climate change. So I put on 2 seminars. One was kind of just like an introduction to climate change, where I had, I think, roughly 30 to 40 people in attendance, which was very good. And then after we went to BC, I put on a Cranes for Climate Change sort of event where we made 196 cranes that are currently, they've been up in our church for about 2 months now. Normally things don't stay up in my church for that long. So I'm glad to see that it's making an impact. I also worked on, we currently have a boiler from 1958, I believe, that we are trying to, put to rest. So we've looked into putting heat pumps throughout our church, trying to find, new ways to heat our space, because we have about, I want to say 15,000 square feet of space to cover, which is a lot. And it's all currently being heated by our boiler room. This is my binder that I've been working out of. As you can see, it's fairly thick. But yeah, that was kind of my entire project this summer.
So if you had any specific questions you'd like to ask any of our motivators or questions for the whole table, now's your chance. If you want to hear more about the program itself or their individual projects or things they might be getting up to in the future, feel free. We'll leave some space for that.
I have a question. I'd like to know why you applied for the program in the first place, and also how you heard about it.
If any of you would like to go ahead.
You might repeat the question for the online folks, please.
So the question was, why apply for the role in the first place, and how did you hear about it?
So first of all, it's a long story, but I'll make it short. So my brother and my older sister Yvonne applied for like the similar job last year, and I was very interested in joining and becoming like trying to be connected to the climate and trying to make a specific difference. And since I was still 14 years old, I couldn't apply because I was so I needed one more year to apply. But since I was young, I was so interested in making a difference or being able to have a voice and being able to be a model, a leader for other people in my community. So I became a climate motivator because I'm a person who's more likely to be a good stewardship of the earth and a person who wants to make a difference. Well, what I believe in is that you're not too young to make a difference, and it doesn't matter what they say, just follow your heart and you know that everything will be fine. It's better to be optimist than being pessimist, and if these people that don't understand about the climate, I'm eager to be able to educate them. And I believe that while I was doing my project, I was able to volunteer at a garden in Cambridge that is an organic garden, and I was very happy to be educated. But before I even applied for this job, I used to be a young city grower at the University of Laurier. I bet Kayla knows that place. So I got to learn a lot about climate, and I knew that there are more issues in this world that cannot be solved by one person, but if you started and educating more people about it, then other people will follow. And if you follow your heart, then the Lord will lead you in everything.
For me, I'm very, very passionate about climate change. The why I applied for this job is because since I was young, I was able to help my mom plant a garden, and I see how beautiful it can make. And in my back in the country, people do cut a lot of trees to make things. I plant I see how impacted the earth and make it very hot. And last summer, I applied for a job, and we discussed a lot of stuff, and I learned a lot of things about environmental issues, and that led me to apply for climate motivator. And for example, right now, our school are planting trees and flowers, and that is a part of my passionate. It led me to keep involved in climate motivation for others. I remember last time when I went to Quebec to visit one of my friends, and I haven't seen for a long time. But when I left, I was there. I see how it was very hot. There was a lot of trees are being cut down, and then I realized this is not good. If you look far from the future, if there was no tree, it will be in winter. It will be very too cold or very, very hot. So if you help to motivate others to realize the problem, it's very, very beneficial for all of us. And another thing is that led me to apply for climate motivator is that I am very passionate about climate change. Even at school, I'm taking a lot of courses related to climate change. So I'm planning to learn how is life connect to nature. So that's why I decided maybe if I apply this job, I'll be able to learn more about it. So that's why.
I applied for the job because I am a geography major, so it's kind of in my realm of knowledge. I also do really, really, really care for this earth. I think that a lot of people, enjoy nature. Myself being one of them, I love being outside. And I think that it's a shame that we are doing so much to the earth to kind of take away from that beauty. And I think that it's important to, educate people on those topics, even though they're pretty hard to talk about sometimes.
Well, thank you all so much. They're pretty incredible, huh? Yeah, I heard lots of themes of, we can't always do great things on our own, but to borrow a quote from Mother Teresa, we can always do small things with great love. And then when you get a bunch of people doing small things with God's guidance, then we can do some great stuff. Did we have any other questions for the group or anyone in particular?
Could you tell us why you applied for the position?
Oh, sure.
Connor, I'd love you to share your experience a bit with COP 27?
28, yeah.
28. Connor's had a rich history with the environment as well.
Very kind to say. But yeah, so I applied for the job because it was a marriage of many things that were important to me. So I studied my master's in environmental management, international development, and a big value of mine is acting local, thinking global, and also equipping youth and with leadership skills that they already have, but I really enjoy planting seeds in gardens that aren't mine and then being able to see those gardens flourish from far away. So whenever I get to hear about stuff they're doing post the program, which is always one of our goals, right? Equip them and hope they continue that work in some way in their community. That makes me very happy. We have youth that have met with their MPs, are now on youth advisory councils. We have youth that have started clubs, youth that have made media appearances on these things. So for me, it was something that, it gave me an outlet to work on issues I cared about, while also knowing that I was equipping others with the skills and knowledge needed to continue good work in their lives and their networks. Seeing those ripples go forward is very fulfilling for me. And I appreciate the United Church as an institution caring so much about different justice issues. And obviously I have a faith background, so being able to marry my desire to do justice in the world with my faith is a great opportunity. And when I saw them wanting to invest their time and their money in youth and environmental initiatives, I said, how could I not want to be a part of that in some way and try to help? And so one thing I'm doing post-program to Kathy's alluding is the COP28, which is the conference of parties that meets every year. The world's nations send delegates and leaders to talk about the environment, climate change, and make plans to address it in an international way. There have been times where those talks have been successful and times where maybe it hasn't measured up to what we would hope, but it's always good to make sure you have a voice at the table and you're trying to advocate for justice in the world, because there's plenty of other people at the table for whom maybe that's not their agenda. So the United Church has a special accreditation to enter what they call blue zones, negotiation zones, not a voting member, but they can be in those spaces, and we can use that opportunity to advocate for a more just, fairer, clean world. What that looks like on the ground is the United Church has sponsored, I think, 3 youth this year, along with a partnership with For Love of Creation and Kairos, these groups, to send 3 youth to COP28 under their accreditation, which will be held in Dubai this year. And our role on the ground is to animate and uplift those youth voices as they experience those climate talks in person. They get the skills to be leaders in those spaces in the future, maybe, and they get to share their values for wanting a more just, clean world at one of the important stages to do that. So right now, I'm doing a bit of behind-the-scenes work, equipping communities, asking communities of faith on the ground to hold different events in recognition of these youth that are attending COP28. We suggested things like candles for COP, maybe a candlelit vigil where we pray for a more just world and their voices to be uplifted. We asked people to repost things on social media about what these youth are doing over there. That's part of the work that I'm doing as well, I guess as an extension of this work. So that's what brought me to the table, and that's what I'm trying to continue to do in my employment and my own volunteering. So, but any other questions for the stars here?
Yes, what can we as elderly people, mostly, what can we do? Is there one thing that we can do that would really, really help?
So I'll just preamble it and then I'll pass it off to anyone who feels called to it. I'll say, one, we stand on your shoulders. So I always resist any sense of divide between the young and the experienced, because there have been plenty of people fighting the good fight for a just, clean world long before we ever existed. So thank you for listening to us and what our concerns are, work we've done, and thank you for any work you've done in your lives too. If it's something it's more recent for, something you want to get involved now, it is never too late. We can't always influence great global talks, but we can influence our circles here. So what are some things that your institutions might be able to do? What are some things your networks might be able to do to make the world a more clean, just place? For me, I always try to point people towards their elected leaders. Now, I don't love politics, but we do live in a world where political decisions can either exacerbate injustice or alleviate injustice. And there are plenty of people who will want to advocate for their own maybe interests in their own ways, but I think God calls us to mindfully, carefully, and with prayer and consideration, advocate for needs beyond our own. And so when our politicians hear our voices, when they get to hear many other voices as well, I know it does make a difference. So I'd say advocating to your leaders on local, provincial, federal levels, and then seeing what you can do in your own network would be where I would advise people to start. And let the sustainable thing be community and people doing good work together, and create spaces for a bit of that grief or anxiety, because that's important too. But I'd say what's in your circle of influence and take care of yourself on the journey. Anyway, anyone else have any advice?
For me, I believe to advocate other is no matter of age, no matter how old you are, you still have the voice to share your thought. You still have a passion to be there and share. For example, I believe people who are old, they have more experience than teenagers. They've seen a lot in the world. They can help the teenager who are unaware of the problem are there. They can advocate the teenager, they can motivate the teenager to continue their job and doing what they think is right to help the climate thrive, the earth of the God creation. So if you give us advice of what is to do or how we can help others do what is right, it will be a very big help. Because a big community is a community share what they are thinking. Especially for our generation, they are very knowledgeable of what's been happening through the years. But for us, we're looking what's happening right now. No one was what was in the past, and what the knowledge we have is limited, is know what we know. But for you guys, you know other things we don't even think about. You have experienced a lot. So if you give us advice, it's beneficial so we can get more information, so we can go share there, around there, so everybody can be beneficial in the entire continent or even the whole world. So you are a very big asset to advocate others.
I just wanted to say, as somebody who's worked with a lot of seniors over the summer, just showing up and showing us that you're there and you care and you want to make a difference is also a huge part of it. Showing us that, even being here, you're doing something just because you're here. You're showing that you care, and as a youth who's been told a lot of times in her own church community that, oh, you don't have a voice yet, you don't know what you're talking about. Showing somebody that being there, supporting them, asking questions, and letting them have a voice helps a lot.
Okay, something that I would like to add is that, yes, Jackson and Kayla has said what I was going to say, but as people that have a way to support us is to lead us and show us the knowledge and help us to be strong, even though we believe that we can make a difference. I have said this many times, it's not that you're not the only person to make a difference, but helping us to know more and having more opportunities to learn and advocate, and having more opportunities to make more projects that will help the future, because most people are focusing on what is now, what is present, but not what is in the future. So we believe that if we have leaders to support us and show us the right way and giving us the best advice that we could take, then that will be very helpful, and we believe that we're very, very strong and we can make a difference.
And the last thing is that if you show there, and if they see you, let's say, for example, I brought to myself, I'm very ignorant of what consequences of environment, but I see the elderly there are very, I hear very loud noises. We should help, do something about it. For me, as a young teenager, I'll feel like maybe I'm not doing good enough. I should be there doing that instead of them. So I'll put more energy for what I'm doing because you are there motivating me. Thank you.
Now, I'm getting that encouraged feeling again. I hope you are too. Multiply this by 5, because we had 15 motivators across the country, and you're getting a taste of the encouragement that I got this summer. Lots of wisdom here, and lots of asking from wisdom for all of you. So thank you for your time. If you have other questions, you're welcome to chat with them after, and Kathy could connect you to their emails as well. So thank you so much for listening to us, supporting, and being there in the invitation. Hope you guys have a lovely rest of your service today.
Thank you so much speaking to us. Over the years, I know how many in our group have done things to try to make the world a better place. And one of our hymns is, "Go Make a Difference." And I thank you, young people, you are making a difference. I think the world is in good hands, and we support you. Our bodies are weak, but our minds aren't. And we still try to do the best we can, because this is a very hurting world, and it's painful to watch the news. We just have to do our own little bit in our own little spot. And thank you ever so much for coming to speak to us. And if you want to just stay there, we're going to sing the blessing song for you. So would you all stand, and we'll get our pianist and music song leader with us, and we'll go for it. May the blessing of God be upon you. May it bless you in the name of God. May the blessing of God be upon you. May it bless you in the name of God. Thank you. Thanks, Barbara.
Yes, Edith. Yes, sorry. I forgot. Yes, Barbara.
I just wanted to say, as coming from the farming community way back in my younger days, I'm so glad that Greenbelt thing got stopped. And I was shocked. Shocked that the wonderful powers that be down there in Toronto, who don't know as much as I'd like them to, called farmland undeveloped land. No one in the farming community would call our land undeveloped land for developers to build on.
So we're not finished yet. I'm now going to invite Kathy Douglas to lead us in worship. Kathy?
Oh, aren't you so glad you came today? I am. Thank you so much. And a reminder, there were 15 climate motivators across Canada, and 4 from the Western Ontario Waterways. So I think we had the most from one region. And I think they'd be happy to be invited to share again, if you so wished. So I invite you to this time of worship. And maybe what you need is to take a deep breath and to find your space and be as comfortable as possible. And join with me in a short prayer to start. Gracious God, you are with us, you are around us, you are in us. We come before you to hear your word through all that's been said, to feel your word in the times we spend together. And we ask that you guide us in this time. Amen. So I'd like to share 2 exceptionally important words with you, and I can't believe how well it fits. Celebrate hope. Those are the 2 words I really hope you take away today. Celebrate hope. These words bestow an utterly important sentiment that we would be wise to keep acknowledging. We've heard it, we felt it today, I hope, and I hope you take it out with you from this time. What we collectively have done today is very important. We have heard these panelists describe passions and actions that they have taken. You have been encouraged to keep standing behind them and around them, to motivate them in their work and to take actions yourself, to make climate change problems less of a problem. Actions that may move us forward in a good way, help us to celebrate hope. The scripture that I'm going to share with you for this reflection time is a very short couple of verses from the prophet Jeremiah. Jeremiah, like most prophets, held up, spoke loudly and strongly the word of God to the people. In the midst of turmoil, Jeremiah, like a lot of the prophets, found himself addressing a nation hurtling themselves toward disaster. He reminded them that they had broken the covenant they had made with their God over and over again, and now were in great trouble. Much of the population was in exile in Babylon. Their future was bleak. They were searching for leadership, people to direct them, to give them hope. And it was a lot to do with the actions they had taken over their life. Injustice was rampant. And like many other prophets, he didn't usually make the people around him feel great and comfortable. He was pointing out the danger ahead. Danger that they had contributed to, something that sounds a lot like climate change. I think we sit a lot and we hear people talk to us about climate change, prophets maybe that speak to us, and we just don't know what to do and we don't feel good, and sometimes we take offense at some of the things that we hear. I envision a prophet like Jeremiah to be rather loud and angry, feeling like nobody's listening. I don't think we experience that here today from these prophets, but I definitely hear it in the words from Jeremiah. But even though most of what he said was loud and angry and frustrated, there were times that he brought also a gift of peace So he was a prophet of justice, but he was also a messenger of God's grace. In Jeremiah 29, verses 10 and 11, I want you to hear what I find hopeful, the hopeful voice of God through Jeremiah, a clear, calm promise from God. He says in Jeremiah 29, 10 and 11, this is what God says. When 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will come to you and fulfill my good promises to bring you back to this place. For I know the plans I have for you, declares God, plans to prosper you and to not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. God promises to give a hope and a future to the people in Jeremiah's day and to us today. The situation is dire, but there is hope. And with that promise of hope, we are able to take action. If we didn't have hope, there'd be no need to take action to change things. Hope helps us in that action. And these panelists are full of hope. Overwhelming despair numbs us. How many of us have felt sort of numb, just numb to the topic of climate justice? But hope should be able to keep us going. So I've been reading a little bit about and practicing a few ideas that help us cultivate hope around climate justice. You can listen to podcasts, you can go to places that help you do this sort of work. One of the ways is to consider past hopes that actually came true. Things that you hoped for in environmental justice that you actually saw changes happen in a good way. So to ponder that time, to write about them, journal about them, or at least sit and reflect about them. And I wonder if you can think of some things throughout your life that environmentalists held up as a problem and you could recognize as a problem and you saw big changes happen. Can you think of some of those things? I'll share a few and then maybe you'll be able to think on further on some of them for yourself. When I was younger, quite a bit younger, and it was around in the 80s, I remember the story and the great fear about a hole in the ozone layer. I was terrified. It freaked me right out to think there was a hole in the ozone layer, and how could I make any difference to make that better? But nations came together, and things changed pretty quickly, actually. Scientists and environmental advocates across the world hailed the efforts to heal that ozone hole. Springing out of the 1987 agreement called the Montreal Protocol that banned a class of chemicals often used in refrigerants and aerosols, one of the biggest ecological victories happened. It's not perfect, but it was a pretty big change. We changed the damage that had first been discovered. We were capable of great disaster and destruction, but we were also capable of collaborative repair. Another thing that I've thought about is recycling. As a young person with a young family, I gathered with some other young moms and said, we have to do something about recycling in our small town of Mitchell at the time, actually. And people around us thought we were goofy and weird and wasting our time, but we collectively kept coming together to say, we can recycle in Mitchell. We put money together and raised funds and brought a truck to the town hall that parked at the town hall and asked people to bring their garbage to the town hall and sort it. People thought it was ridiculous. Who's going to sort their garbage? Who's going to do something like that? But now We see selection bins in most public places and most private places as well. And in your own homes, you wouldn't think twice about sorting your garbage and putting it in the right places. I'm not saying recycling's all and everything we need to do, and it's not all being done great. But that was a huge change in my time. And then this one is quite personal to me, and I always hesitate, what each of us are able to do might not be what somebody else is able to do, but I really struggle with flying. Air travel for me is one of the biggest carbon footprints that I contribute to in my life. I have family in Calgary, and I ache to spend time with them at least once a year. So it either means I fly or they fly. At least that's what I think is my choice. I've changed a lot about my life choices because I do call those love miles, and I do sometimes continue to fly and use the airlines for that. But I also have decided I'm not going to go on vacations that require flying. That's my choice, but I know it's not everybody's ability. And if I am going to fly anywhere, I'm going to look at every other possibility that I can to not have to take an airplane. And for work, when I'm asked to fly somewhere, I say, maybe that's not the best idea. And I can take a deep breath and say, it's bad for the environment. And it's not easy to say. A lot of people go, oh, because it feels like you're judging them. But it's something I've come to be able to do. And recently I was asked to come together to Winnipeg with a group of folks across the United Church that do a similar job to me. And two of us said, we're going to take the train. And we took a train. And let me tell you, I've taken the train now quite a bit. I never feel as stressed as I do when I take an airplane. There's no lineups, there's no checkpoints. Nobody's standing around with guns and what look like guns when I come in. It is smooth, it is beautiful, it's relaxing. I sleep, I learn and meet all kinds of new people. It is a gift to be encouraged. It also costs twice as much of the dollars we have to pay, but we know it's not as hard on the environment, and that's a dollar figure as well. So I, again, invite you to just sit in your space right now and pay attention to things that you've seen that have changed in your life. And if you're having a little niggle to say, maybe I could do that piece of work that I hear I could try to do, give yourself some hope and celebrate that maybe you can move that way as well. Today we heard about hopeful stories and practices, so maybe there's some hopeful stories and practices you can keep celebrating and talk about to the people around you. Hope involves anticipating a good future. But especially one we think is possible and we really want to be true. So the intention of a better, cleaner, more just world is really important for you to put out no matter what age you are. Our church and this group you heard from today can and are advocates of hope. Hope calls us to be motivated to invest and make possible a good future. So celebrate hope. And as I close, I'm going to ask my musicians if they can be ready to play one of the pieces of music that I wondered if we could play in the quiet curve of evening. Are you ready for that? Praying is one of the best things we can be doing as well. And again, no matter what our age or where we're sitting or what we're able to do, praying changes life. So in prayer, we hold up our hope. We can be grateful that God has said, I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and to not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. God is there, our greatest hope. So let's sing in the quiet curve of evening and think about those hopes in your life. So that's sort of a lamenting song, and I heard some mention of anxiety or climate grief. It's okay for us, I think, to be grieving and to be sad and worried, but to always have hope. Now we're going to sing again. You don't have to stand up unless you like to. I should have said just stand up. We're going to sing God of the, I forgot the title of it. God of the Sparrow, I think it is. Are we okay for that? I changed up the order a bit. And you have that? Okay, good. You can stand if you like, but you don't have to. Whatever's best for you. God of the sparrow, God of the whale, God of the swirling stars, how does the preacher say, oh, how does the preacher say praise? God of the earthquake, God of the storm, God of the trumpet blast, how does the preacher cry, whoa? How does the preacher cry, save? God of the rainbow, God of the cross, God of the empty grave, how does the preacher say grace? How does the preacher say thanks? God of the hungry, God of the sick, God of the prodigal, how does the preacher say care? How does the preacher say love? God of the neighbor, God of the foe, God of the pruning hope, how does the preacher say no? How does the preacher say peace? God of the ages, God near at hand, God of the loving heart, how do the children say joy? How do your children say As we move into an offering time, we recognize the gifts that we share. Financial and personal, our time, our talent, our energy, our prayers, are gifts that we offer as well. I know that the United Church women have picked the Healing Fund as part of your ministry and the project that you want to support, and Anne alluded to me sharing a little bit about some of the project that the Healing Fund is covering over the next few years. I'm going to share a story before the offering is collected around about the ministry with the Healing Fund. The Regina Native Outreach Ministries Mother and Baby Welcome Bags were created to address ongoing impacts of intergenerational trauma caused through the residential school system. Indigenous mothers giving birth at Regina General Hospital are frequently subjected to racism, discrimination, and violation of their rights. For example, the young Indigenous mom who inspired the Mother and Baby Welcome Bags had been subjected to threats of having her baby taken away from her during and immediately following her birth. Her hospital room was not cleaned as it had been for other new mothers, and she was made to feel very much second class and a bad mother. These are the same messages that were inflicted on many Indigenous girls in the residential schools. The welcome bags contained baby supplies and personal care products for the new mother, as well as a small traditional medicine pouch. and a greeting card to let the new mother know that she was not alone in her journey. In addition, they contain information cards with contacts for spiritual support and access to elders. So your givings are going to a good cause. May we now share those gifts as the offering is received. I don't know if you're passing it or you're passing it. Okay. Before I pray over this money, I'd like to remind you that clinical psychologists, not just ministers, tell us that hope is essential to make life changes. And gratitude is the leading indicator and instigator to cultivate hope. So let us be grateful as we pray over these gifts of finances. Gracious God, we share gifts, financial gifts, which really make a difference, but we also share who we are with the world. Show us the way. Use these funds and these monies and these gifts that we share to do your work in the world, celebrating hope all the way. Amen. I'm going to close with a prayer that comes from the resource for the love of creation. It's been mentioned a few times. If you don't know about the resources for the love of creation, just Google it or ask your resource center. They might be able to share with you some resources from that site. It very much focuses on healing the earth in time of climate crisis. But it also shares, and I just want to hold up to in this time of praying, it helps to heal our world. Our world is a fighting world right now. It's full of war and great damage being done all around our world. We think of the people in Palestine and Israel and the Ukraine, but we know there's wars and troubles all over. Human violence is a shame, and it is something we need to pray for. Here in this prayer that I share from For the Love of Creation, our prayer as we close. May peace radiate in the whole sky and in the vast ethereal space. May peace reign all over this earth, in water, in all herbs, and the forests. May peace flow over the whole universe. May peace be in the supreme being. May peace exist in all creation and peace alone. May peace flow into us. Peace, peace, peace. Amen.
Kathy, thank you so much for your message. We look for hope, we pray for hope, and we shall find hope. We've got to find those small things that make a difference. Thanks, Kathy.
You're welcome. Thanks.
I'd like also to recognize some people here. I recognize those who came today. It's nice to see dear friends again. I'm sorry there weren't more of us. I hope there are people who watched online too and have joined us together. Thanks once again to our panel. There is hope in our young people. They're showing us what we should do, and we're encouraging them in everything they do too. I'd like to recognize Edith, who did a wonderful job of those delicious cupcakes. Thank you. Thank you for getting the coffee and the tea ready. Thanks so much. Stephen, hello, Stephen, stand up.
so we can see you. We recognize your great contributions to our tech today. It's always a mystery to me, and those of us who are savvy, good for you, and I need to learn because my husband gets tired of having to be my secretary all the time and find what I need and what not. I want to thank the church for letting us come here once again. Because of our age and many mobility problems, we are so glad to be all on one floor. So, someone take a message to them. I don't think there's anyone from their church here, but I do thank them for letting us come once again. I want to thank all who were on the committee putting this day together. It's a big job for many. And I would like to say thank you to our president, Ann Reiber, for everything that she does. Thank you. As usual, we are a singing people. Praise to God. And I want to thank Barbara and Lorraine for leading us in the hymns. Singing is a way to say thank you to God. This is a wonderful earth, and we do need to take better care of it. So kudos to the young people. I'm afeared that we have left it a little bit of a mess. And I saw my United Church Observer, Greta Thunberg, says, the adults have let them down. And I fear a lot of adults have let them down. The waste we have left from our mining and things that should not have happened, things that should have been cleaned up weren't. So we hope as we go forward that we'll continue to exert our efforts, sign petitions. I have said I will sign petitions on things, once in my married name and once in my maiden name. Thanks again for coming today.
And shall we all stand and once more sing the blessing song for all of us, because everyone here has contributed to the day. May the blessing of God be upon you. We bless you in the name of God. May the blessing of God be upon you. We bless you in the name of God. And just before I call on Kathy for the benediction, I've been reminded throughout this day of something the moderator, the Reverend Dr. Carmen Lansdowne, said at the National UCW Executive in September, when she was talking about specifically 2 youth programs that were run by the United Church this summer. One was the Climate Motivators program. The other was, I'm not sure what the name of it was, but it was 3 weeks of canoeing in the back country with 10 Indigenous young people and I think 10 or other young people across Canada. I may be out by a number or 2 there, but it was a small group. She was involved with, I think, was it a few days or a week with your program, and she was with the canoeists for quite a bit of their program. But what she said at the end, and it wipes me out every time I think of it, so pardon my voice. She says, if there is nothing else left of the United Church but these young people, and I'm going to include us as well, it is enough. So think about that. It's not the numbers, it's the quality and the people who are involved and left. So let us work together. And Kathy?
As a blessing, I'm going to use Isaiah 55, and it is a song, but I'm going to say it, but I need you to participate as well. And I'm changing the words. You know, we shall go out with joy, but we're going to say we shall go out with hope. You shall go out with hope and be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills will break forth before you. There'll be shouts of joy, and all the trees of the fields will clap their hands. And all the trees of the fields will clap their hands. The trees and the fields will clap their hands. The trees and the fields will clap their hands as you go out with hope. Amen.